Simply, it's local muscular endurance conditioning, so tissue conditioning. The philosophy that I kind of view physical prep for swimming through is through asking a number of performance questions. The first one being, can you hit the key positions required for the sport? And that obviously is a combination of mobility, flexibility, and your motor control. The next one is, are you strong enough in those key positions? That's where the weight room tends to lie. And do you have the capacity to sustain those key positions? So our pre-pool sessions tend to hit the first and the third performance questions. There is do you need to be working on finding kind of end range shoulder flexion, which you may struggle with if you have a tight T-spine, for example, or just poor kind of motor control of the posterior shoulder, for example, or do you have great mobility and pretty good motor control, but you just lack the tissue conditioning to sustain hitting those positions in the pool. But on the ground, realistically, that looks like Monday and Friday we'll do a basic trunk conditioning circuit, which is graded based on their capability in our trunk conditioning tests. So we tend to have levels 1 through 3. The group will do a lead circuit. If we took an example of a side plank, for example, level 1, maybe you've scored under 60 seconds on a lateral hold test, for example, and so you're going to do, your exercise would just be to work a simple side plank. Level 2, maybe you're working with a partner and they're going to provide manual resistance to actually add some load through the trunk to challenge you some more. And then the level on top of that, so that's a static strength exercise for the trunk. And then level 3, maybe a dynamic version of that. So you're still going to work with a partner. So you'll do some hip lifts in a side plank position, but they're going to provide some resistance on the way up and on the way down because you scored higher on that trunk capacity test. And then they tend to have 4 or 5 of those exercises, and they may do between 2 and 3 circuits of that. And then there's similar structures for the shoulder and the hip on some of the other days. There's the shoulder obviously is of massive importance. So there's a general tissue conditioning and local muscular endurance piece. And then the guys will also have individual work-ons around finding kind of end range strength or getting into those key positions. Their hip work tends to be a little more general, and it may be something that you and I take for granted, given that we've probably played and participated in land-based sports most of our life and have spent a fair amount of time in a weight room. But it's somewhat challenging for swimmers a lot of the time, even if they're fairly seasoned athletes.